Hello guys, welcome back to the Profit Manage channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world and when you're watching this video. We have a lot to talk about today as well. Of course, a lot has happened since the last video, which was yesterday. You guys make sure to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel because I pretty much make a video almost every day nowadays, especially with the increased volatility, trying to help you understand why I've turned so bullish after such a long time, and why I feel confident that from here, the prices that we are seeing, we can actually start to begin an old season to take place. Okay, so let's get straight to the chart. So let's start with the USD dominance chart. I will present to you guys two different charts for the USD dominance chart. Okay, and what I have in front of you guys right now is a trending channel, okay? A bullish trending channel, which if you don't know what it is a concept that I've taught you guys. Again, in the YouTube, you just go to the playlist and then you go on the mentorship 2025. It's just two videos. If you are in the Discord, you will get a lot more content related to this strategy, which just part of a few things that I use. Okay, the training channel method, but I also have equilibrium zones and whatnot. But let's just get straight into it. So we blasted through this trend line. Okay, but as you guys can see, we are still within the levels of the top of the USD dominance chart. Okay, these are the levels that mark the bottom of the bear market of 2022. Okay, so where are we right now? So because we're broken through this area without a proper retest, okay, I think that it's very safe to say and assume, of course not financial advice, but I believe that we should be moving back down to at least 7.1724. That is, of course, if we do it today. If we do not do it today, we will be looking at 7.763 tomorrow. Okay, but if we then break below, then we're looking at 7.289 today, and from tomorrow it's going to be 7.29 and 9 approximately. Okay, it all depends on how it unfolds here, because the main thing that you got to realize is that if this area right here turns into support, then what happens is that this bounce that we're seeing crypto at this moment is going to be a short-term bounce in preparation for more downside, okay, more upside for the USD dominance chart. This trend line right here is pretty much the last trend line that I personally see. I mean, there is another one which would be this one right here. Matter of fact, let me actually deploy that trend line over there as well, because I could also see a trailing channel right here forming. So why not? Let's actually make sure that this is correct. And we will also keep track of this trailing channel right here at this moment. So this is pretty much the region where you would expect to find resistance, essentially. Once you break through above it, you can expect that the entire region can act as a support. But once you're below, you can expect this region to act as a resistance. Of course, no system is perfect. At some point, they will break. Okay, but at this moment, because we haven't really touched this trendline channel since it originated, last time that we touched it was in October 2023. I could actually expect this area to be very strong resistance for the USD dominance chart. But that is only if we actually end up hitting that region, because hitting that region right now, guys, it will basically mean that we pretty much speed running an entire bear market, and it will mean that we will see a Bitcoin starting to trade probably minimum at the 50s, probably even a little bit lower, which at this moment, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I think that we may see some upside first at the very least. We will cover so many different things in today's video. I'm doing this analysis live in front of you guys. I was monitoring through the alerts the situation in the market, but this is the first time that I'm actually sitting at my desk today. So this will be your level of support. If you lose that, you can expect some more upside in the crypto market, and you will be looking at 7.289. If you guys want to see my portfolio, my coins, how much I've invested in each coin, my entry prices, and you want to get all of my trades and exit signals, then check out the link down below. You can subscribe to our premium group. This is going to be the best deal that you can get right now. The prices will go up very soon. We want to lock in as many people as possible before the old season starts, because once the old season starts, guys, it will be too late and it will be time to sell, not to buy. So make sure to join Profit Magnets as soon as possible. Get in, secure your spot, and make this your life changing cycle. If you bounce from here, okay, if you see this here ordinance of support, guys, keep your shorts or short some more, because we will most likely be looking at 9.70%, if not even a little bit more. Okay, but this, in my opinion, unless something completely different is actually happening, this is likely going to be marking the final bottom, which I will cover if this is a possibility at this moment and time. Moving on, let's go to the next USD dominance chart, which, as you guys can see, I have two. So this is the area, the equilibrium zone area, where I said we will most likely start to see a rejection and a reaction that will change the trend. I also explained in yesterday's video that these are not to be mistaken for levels of support or resistance. These are dynamic levels created through equilibrium levels, okay, which are likely going to create a rejection, a reaction, okay, once you get through them. And because it's actually probably the first time that we have touched this level since they are created, I think that it's very likely, based on how much I've traded this particular strategy, that we will inverse at some point very, very soon. Um, you can also see that, if you will have your stop loss up above these highs, right, you will not be stopped out just yet. This is very normal to see when trading this strategy, to see things like this happening, where you see the level just slice through in preparation of a reversal back down. So at this moment, I think that unless we find support at this particular level, so we can actually expect us to go a little bit lower. 7.72 for minimum, which will be somewhere inside of this region. But then again, just like a trendline channel, this region over here, if it ends up holding as a support, right, then yes, you can expect us to go actually higher here and lower in the market. But I don't know. I think, especially after hitting this trend over here for the third time, which you guys can see from high to high, we got a third touch that created pretty much the bottom rejection back to the opposite trend, aka downside in the USD dominance chart, also known as more upside in the crypto market. I think that we have to see some sort of a recovery very, very soon. But is this the bear? Is this the bottom being formed? That is another question, which we will have to look at some other charts to understand if this is going to be the case or not. Now, what should happen next for us to be actually bullish from this moment onwards? Okay, so you're very big checkpoint, guys, happens to be between 6.596 and 6.476. This is another equilibrium zone right here. Okay, I've actually explained in previous videos how I've actually came up with this particular area, and you can pretty much see it visually how important this area is, and how previously it acted as a support and then it acted as a resistance. Now you can see that we have actually broken through it without a proper retest. So what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that at some point, right, which I personally believe it will be coming soon, we should be seeing a reversal back down, at least down into this region. Okay, but what happens from this region, that's another story. Okay, because from this region, I could see different some different things potentially happening. We could do something like this, which, let me just deploy just for a representation. If this area here also support, there is a chance that we could go and mark the final top but pushing significantly higher, 10%. Pretty much what I showed you guys with this trending channel, that is a possibility. Another thing that could potentially happen is we just retest 7.458 to potentially 7.90, somewhere around this equilibrium zone right here before dropping. Another thing that could potentially happen, right, is that we actually lose this level quite quickly, and then we see a bounce back up to either this level where we will find resistance and actually start to drop and go into another uptrend, or we could potentially get a steeper correction and go back into this region. So I think that at the very least right now, your bigger point of focus, if you want to remove the short-term stuff and you don't care about seeing 7.724 or 7.289, I think your very important level at this moment in time is this one right here. But what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that in the short term, you're likely at least to be a little bit bullish. Okay, so based on the USD dominant chart, we do see that there is a good chance that we will see a reversal happening in the short term, but for how long, that's a different story. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys levels. I don't know necessarily uh, if we have hit the final bottom or not. I do have a time frame by which I personally believe um, we should be bottoming, and that is around February 17th, give or take. From there onwards, I think that we will be seeing a significant bottom being formed. Um, I've explained on my volume, which if you guys haven't already, make sure to go and follow. That's Alex Trades on volume. And yeah, if you are in the premium group, you know a little bit better about that date and why I personally think that could create the reversal. Moving on, we got the total 3 minus Solana and BNB, and this is very, very exciting. It's a very good news because in the previous videos, guys, I made an effort trying to show you the importance of this zone and why I personally wanted to see that we will basically be taking out the slow. I literally wrote checkpoint, and you guys can see what triggered today. Of course, I'm on the weekly time frame, but this happened today. We have actually liquidated finally the low of April 7th, 2025. So in this region, on this total tree chart that does not count for Solana and BNB, we have actually finally liquidated this low. So this was a big checkpoint for me. Not only did we take out the low right here, but we also have taken out the low of October 10th, and we had an instant quick recovery on the same day pretty much, because this happened today. Let me actually go on the daily for this. What? Look at this. Look at this. And I think that this move right here is actually happening with volume. Look at that. I don't even check volume that often. Okay, but I knew by just looking at this candle that we will have had a lot of volume right here because a lot of the points of interest have just been struck. So what this is also telling me is that if this green, sorry, if this candle right here that you guys are looking at as blue right now ends up turning into green, that's a very good indication. And by the way, this is vector candles. That is a very good indication that we are to expect a reversal back to the upside at this moment right now. Of course, it's not the highest the volume has been, but of course, here we at the liquidation event, and we can actually see that the volume at this moment in time today is actually pretty high on the altcoins. So what does that tell you, right? They are accumulating altcoins at this moment in time, and we could actually expect to see a decent move to the upside by altcoins at this moment and time. Okay, so a lot of stuff has been triggered right here. I could actually start to remove this stuff right here, and yeah, let's remove it. We want to see, however, the daily candle ideally closing as it's doing right now above this trend line right here. That would be a big confirmation that we are potentially ready for some more upside. Now, one thing that I do have to be clear about is what I think may potentially happen from here. Look, I want to be as optimistic as possible, okay? But I would be wrong not to warn you guys about potential risks. One of the risks right here is that we do end up going a little bit higher than I'm personally expecting, and that would be to visit, perhaps very briefly, levels on the USD dominance chart above 9%, pretty much above 9.50, basically a new all-time high for the USD dominance chart, and pretty much retest this trend line from which we have already broken from. as a resistance. But even if that were to happen, guys, the reason why I'm, regardless of how you want to look at it, so damn bullish is because what do you consider this? A broken trend line. And what do broken trend lines do? They get retested as resistance. So you can see that in this perspective, right, the USD dominance chart is actually moving back to the upside to potentially, right, retest this region as a resistance if we were to go up and do that. But what comes next, right, is the exciting part, the part that you guys are all waiting for, the reversal to the downside of it, and that creates the bull market that you're all calling for, and well, not calling for, not at least not at this moment, but at least expecting to see, especially if you have been buying altcoins right now, right? This is the signal that you want if that were to happen. And people are losing their minds over this drop right here. I'm seeing people calling for 30K, 10K, and all sort of crazy things on social media. And all I am seeing here is potential levels that have been coming through that could potentially act as a support. And even in the case where I am wrong, we go a little bit lower than I may expect, or a little bit higher than what I may personally expect on the SC dominance chart, what all I see afterwards is still that upside. So it doesn't matter. I pretty much went all in at this point over the last few days, and I'm happy, and I can absorb the temporary drawdown because I bought altcoins for so cheap that even if they do go a little bit lower and I cannot take advantage of them, while of course I would love to be buying more, that recovery to the upside will make me will put me back at a profit very quickly. So it doesn't really matter. I think that either way, we are almost done with this move to the downside. Despite of how you want to look at it, there's multiple ways of how things can unfold that we need to wait for more price action. I can give you guys all the different scenarios that I see, right? But we have to wait and see what happens to determine what happens next. So I'm optimistic at this moment in time, guys. There's not really much else to say. But what I was about to say here on the 3 minute Solana and BNB chart that could potentially happen is because we have not yet, okay, because we have not yet retested this main resistance, which I've wrote for months and months on end, potentially even, but especially if you're in premium, you know that I may have actually have had this chart for a couple of years, maybe a couple not, but at least more than a year, where I said that the main resistance to be retested was actually this one right here, and you can see that we have not yet done that. Okay, so if we were to keep on going down right away, I think that it's a lot better if we get enough speed to potentially go down in this region if the market has to do that. At this moment, I seriously do not know if this has to come through, but that would mean that we will basically bottom somewhere around $378 billion, and that is a pretty steep correction. So if it looks at something like this, guys, I am still bullish. And what could potentially also happen is that we get a recovery, we get close to the highs, or pretty much had the highs that we made in Q4 of 2024 for this particular chart, somewhere around here, okay? But then we actually get a significant correction back down before we actually see the major move to the upside that I'm overall expecting. There is that possibility, but I mean, even if that were to happen, what does that mean? It means that first of all, you will see upside that you could still take advantage of, okay, if you want to, safeguard yourself from this potential risk, okay. But even then, right, the downside, considering how low we already went, is not really that dramatic. People will make it dramatic because, of course, if we get close to the highs, people will be blasted with positive news. And if this were to happen, especially if it happens quickly, people will lose their minds. And you know how that goes. People will just be extremely bearish. So there is that possibility, which I must not ignore. But at this moment, I don't think that we really have to worry about that. Um, and I'm still optimistic that perhaps something like this may potentially happen. Okay, just be careful and please try to understand what I'm saying. Okay, don't twist my words, please. Um, come back and watch this video if it ends up happening. But even here in total two, right? I pretty much have a projection where we potentially stop here, we move up, and then we have another leg to the downside to complete the sequence before actually blasting to significantly higher levels. Okay, so I think that the overall pattern, despite how people feel, is still overall bullish. If you look at it from a macro perspective, how can you be so bearish right now when you're pretty much at the lows of this particular formation and structure? Like it makes no sense to me. So, I bought, I'm all in. I'm pretty much doing what I'm preaching, right? So Total 2 actually retested perfectly my bullish trendline channel, which was to act as a support. We are also in a bullish trendline, sorry, in a bullish golden pocket of the Fibonacci, which is a bullish one. Um, so yeah, we also hit this runner here for the third time. So I'm very positive that we should be seeing an uptrend very soon. But will this next uptrend actually start the old season? That's another question. Because if we then get another leg to the downside, will that make an higher low or a lower low before actually moving to the upside? That's another thing that we have to deal about potentially in the future. But at this moment, I think that there's quite a lot to potentially take advantage of right now, despite the fact of these potential quote unquote risks. Which, if you're holding, guys, you can choose to exit some up here if that happens, and but then you also have a potential trade-off. If we were to blast higher from right here, right, you will be selling early. At the same time, if you do not sell, but then we go back down into this region, you missed out on potentially capitalizing a little bit more on this move to potentially invest lower. So choose your poison, right? It really depends on how you guys want to handle it. You can also, play it smart and understand the possibilities and for example sell a little bit here if you wish to do that. I'm not saying that I am doing it. Okay, I have to decide once I see everything and I get a gauge of overall sentiment. But you know I'm just covering different possibilities based on my particular projections that I have available right now. Moving on. So this is the contrarian layout. Okay, I have quite a few layouts. Total one is in a bullish golden pocket. We have also retested a trend line that we from which we previously broke out from. You can also see that even if I were to extend this, if we get a quick recovery this week, we may still close back above. If I were to go wick to wick, wick to body, we are above already. So your next level of resistance, okay, assuming that we do bounce from here, which I feel pretty positive about at this moment in time, is that we should be moving up to around 2.86 to 2.92 trillion. Once we flip this area right here as a support, um, we should be going to around $3.61 trillion. Okay, so these are your current levels. Now, if you lose this, okay, here's why. If we were to lose 2.24 trillion, it's actually not that bad. Because if we were to lose it, okay, we should be looking at somewhere around $1.47 trillion, which you would say it's a pretty steep drop, and I would have to agree with you. But look at where you will be landing on trend lines, right? That go all the way back from COVID, and every single time that we step into these trend lines, right, we had significant bullish reactions. Okay, so this is your trend line channel at this moment, which is a bullish one. It's a major one. Every single time that we step into this region, guys, it was bullish. Okay, it created all sorts of significant uptrends since COVID. Okay, this is what started, right, the entire rally in 2022. So even if you were to go and hit this trend here, which is the bear market trend line, okay, as you guys can see by this annotation right here, if we were to go and hit it, we could pretty much say that the bear market is done. So the way that I'm seeing it is that with all this volatility and speed, right, we are actually speed running a potential bear market. So it's not that bad. Just hold on to your orders a little bit longer, in my opinion. I just only see reasons to be bullish, even from a higher perspective, right? Where from you, where you go from the all-time low, well, sorry, not the all-time low, but the low of the bear market to the all-time high right here. Where are we? We actually just stepped into the 61.8%. In the last cycle, well, in the bear market, where did we actually bottom at? We bottom pretty much at the 78.6%. So the bullish golden pocket that goes from the bear market low to the all-time high of a cycle is very, very important. And look at where we are actually perfectly aligned at with the bear market trendline channel. It's pretty much at the 78.6%. So if history were to repeat, right, and we were to go a little bit lower, should you really be that scared where the projections are pointed to north of $7.81 trillion in the market? I don't think so. Um, Me personally, I think that we should be bottoming somewhere around this region. It was part of my entire plan, as you can see from these projections. Okay, if you're in premium, you know that I've had this for a while. I want to see this correction right here happening. Okay, uh, but from here, I'm actually expecting to see $5 trillion plus. Okay, before we actually move back down into this bear market trend line. From there onwards, we will start to move, in my opinion, to above 6 trillion to potentially even $8.81 trillion into the crypto total market cap. So I'm extremely bullish, and I have reasons to be bullish right here, despite the fact of potentially moving a little bit lower. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do here is I will keep both Fibonacci's. I'll keep this one right here, and I'll keep the more um, present one, which will be this one right here, and I will be making this a little bit thicker just so you guys can see a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, moving on. Total 2 here as well. Look, where are we? We are into my area of support. We are just like the 200 DMA. But just like the total one, if we go a little bit lower, we will be hitting that trend line that has marked every single bear market bottom pretty much since COVID. Okay, not perfectly here. For example, it should be a little bit higher, and by this theory, we should have probably already hit it. Let me double check. Yeah, look at that. Total 2 year basically shows that if we go by this trend right here, which actually goes from bear market low to bear market low, we've actually already struck the trend line that will create a significant move to the upside. So I don't know, guys. I see a lot of support. Granted that we may potentially go a little bit lower, but to fulfill this trend line right here, but it's not really required at this moment because we have a lot of support in this region already. But if we do, we welcome it. Okay, it's not that bad. Seriously, I had two projections before I made these recent videos on my YouTube channel, which, as you guys can see, I pretty much started re-uploading recently, right? I've had these projections right here for premium where I was telling them that I was expecting to see a reversal either happen in this region, okay, which we're in right now. So pretty much this projection right here, I was expecting this to potentially be a situation which we are currently at, or that we will go a little bit lower, which is this one right here. We will go a little bit lower, strike this trend down here, okay, and then mark the bottom, and then we move to the upside. So I add these two variants for this particular scenario in which we're currently in. So at this moment, I am telling you it could be either be this or a little bit lower the bottom for total 2. I really don't see anything else that should be acting as a bottom, despite the fact that we may even go a little bit lower because the 88.6%, which is pretty much the last level that creates the golden pocket, is at $580 billion. But I personally don't think that that is going to be the case. I still stick to the idea that we should be either bottomed or very close to a bottom on the total 2 chart. Moving on, total 3. So total 3, like I said, area of support. We have struck the 200 DMA. If we were to lose it and we were to go down lower, I will be looking at 500 $5 billion, give or take. Okay, but at this moment we are holding my area of support. So this is great, guys. This is the Fibonacci, okay, from the 2022 bear market to the high that we made in 2025. So it's a very important Fibonacci, and it's important to note that we have not yet hit the 61.8%. So it's very unusual that we get so close to it, but we don't touch it. So this is kind of telling me that perhaps altcoins have to go a little bit lower. Okay, that's kind of what this is telling me, in my personal opinion. And this is where the scenario that I was proposing here with this dominance chart of what could potentially happen, and if we were to see that extra push to the upside, comes back into play. Because what if, right, we get another push to the upside. We have this pattern right here that looks like a head and shoulder formation, and then we validate it to proceed and go down lower into this trend line, mark the bottom, and we then move to the upside. That could be how things end up playing out. Okay, we must not ignore it. Moving on, orders chart. So orders is particularly bullish for me because we have hit this trend right here for the third time. This is the August 2024 low and the October 10 low trend line. So this is a very important trend. This is the trend that has marked pretty much every single crash, I think, or at least important crash for all coins in this particular cycle. Yes, there was the bottom in April 7th, 2025, but it's not really as relevant as this other two. That's why I did not mention it. We struck the standard year for the third time, so I'm actually going to be keeping this a little bit lighter now. And we also stepped, and we're currently above after stepping it, or at least close to be above, into this mega bullish trendline channel that we have right now. But we did not just hit the trend line from COVID. Okay, that did not happen. That happens if we were to go and strike $138 billion. So this is a very important level that you must pay attention to. If you were to see a little bit more downside, welcome it. That will give you guys enough of a jump to the upside to create a significant uptrend very, very soon. So we must not neglect that possibility. Again, here I'm expecting to see a reversal back up, but the reversal back up can still be followed by another leg to the downside. So, um, you know, based on what I'm seeing right now, I think that we are, I would say 90% done with the downside. I think that I could say that pretty confidently based on what I am seeing. Okay, especially if my levels hold up and I am calling bottoms in these particular areas, and they actually do. I think that we are very close with being done with this entire move, but the market can choose potentially to drag this a little bit longer, especially if we were to see a bounce back up and then a reverse back down a little bit later. Who knows, right? Ideally, if we were to go down. Ideally, we do it as soon as possible, just to get it over with. But I don't control the market, and neither do you. So, as market participants, we just have to wait for the market to finish off doing its thing. Now, Bitcoin. This is a particular chart of Bitcoin that I don't usually cover because it's not one that I update a lot. Okay, but based on this particular chart, okay, I will show you guys more in-depth charts for Bitcoin. But based on this particular chart, which I used as well to mark tops, okay, we have actually bottomed in. I can't fully say unusual area because we did bottom into a golden pocket. You can see that we are above the 78.6% currently, but it's not really the best area where I feel confident in calling bottoms. I mean, it could be okay based on this particular chart. I just don't feel too confident right now. But then again, I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. Okay, that does not mean that it cannot do a slight new all-time high. That does not mean that it cannot move up. Okay, it's just that I'm not that optimistic anymore because I think the Bitcoin has run its course. I think the Bitcoin has done most of the things that it was meant to do in this cycle. And that is simple money flow theory in cryptocurrency, right? It goes from Bitcoin into Ethereum, into the large caps, mid caps, and before you know it, it's old season. Okay. So if you want to see old season, it just makes sense that Bitcoin is weakening. Okay, that's the reality. I don't think that Bitcoin, and I could be wrong. I don't think the Bitcoin will go to 300K or anything like that. I think that perhaps maybe you can see a push up to around 150, maybe. That's a big maybe. Okay, let me be clear. But after that, I don't know. Okay, I think that it may have actually topped, and I think that if we were to go down to 55.3, but yes, we can get a push to the upside, and we could also get a push to the upside from here. Okay, I'm actually long Bitcoin right now. But to which level is the right question? To which level? I think that right now this chart is pointing to around 97.9 as of next week, but we are a little bit more aligned between 98.8 and $100,000. We also have a trend line from which we are broken out from. Guys, it's the same theory of what I'm basically seeing on the USD dominance chart, but do not make the mistake of understanding technicals on one chart that you want things to play out in a certain manner, but then you change your vision, right, on something like Bitcoin that has literally the same exact technical. Look at that. The trend that I said it's bearish and that we're moving towards the retest that will change the trend is literally the same thing that Bitcoin has, right? We've broken through this trend line. Price will eventually make its way back up. But as people start to call for bull market, bull market, bull market, this may actually just be marking the final top, or sorry, the final leg to the upside before it actually continues down lower. So do not make the mistake of marrying the token, okay? Because here I see significant resistance on this particular trend line, okay? We have broken through it. Since then, we started to move back down. If we were to see a move above 97.9, then rest assured that we will back up to around this trend line. But that will also be making what? It will basically be making an head and shoulder formation. Left shoulder, right head shoulder, so, sorry, head and right shoulder right here. Okay, give or take, kind of looks like that. So it's not gonna be perfect, maybe, but it's kind of giving me those vibes. So be mindful about it. Next, we got Solana. I pretty much been saying Solana was to go down. If you're in premium, guys, you knew that I was bearish on Solana from pretty much this point right here. I was telling you that I thought that Solana was going to drop below $100 and that it will touch these regions right here. I also said it publicly that I was bearish on Solana. You guys can see January 30th. I said sub $100 Solana soon. If you are in premium, you knew that even before this date. And then I gave Solana 78.59. That's where I thought the bottom was going to come in. And look at that. We have actually went to as low as $67. But on the same day, we actually managed to get back above, right? 78.65, which is that exact level that I gave you guys yesterday, okay, as your level of support. And you can see that that yesterday's candle has actually closed pretty much on the dot, okay, of what I was calling for. So it makes sense now, in my opinion, for us to see a reversal. And if this, right, if this is the final bottom for the crypto market as a whole, then Solana could potentially be making a new all-time high, okay? But this is a big if, okay? Potentially new all-time high is in the cards. Up to which level? To be optimistic, I would say $300 to potentially $331. Nothing more than that, in my personal opinion. There is also a scenario where we just move up to around 170, 168 approximately, and then we drop down once again before we actually go significantly higher in the next cycle. But yeah, I give you guys levels of where you should be buying Solana, and anything lower than 58, 59, you're pretty much in bear market territory. But that is also where accumulation happens, and this is also regions where buying makes sense. Okay, it started pretty much at this level right here. The areas where buying Solana once again makes sense. Okay, not up here, down here is okay. Moving on. Let's go into my more simpler layout. It's just the name of the layout. It's called simplicity, but it's not that simple. At least that's what somebody commented. Total one. So again, here a lot of support. Bullish trending channel. We also hit this trend right here for the third time. Bullish golden pocket. It just makes sense, in my opinion, to revisit a move to the with a move to the upside. At least right now, $2.71 trillion is your level of equilibrium. But I think that we could potentially even push a little bit higher than that based on this particular chart. Okay, of course, make reference to all the different charts that I'm making you guys, so that you have levels um, that with different technicals, they well, they give you guys a better guidance, in my opinion. For example, here is 2.86, 2.92. That's your more conservative levels. Here I'm saying 2.71 is a possibility as well. But then again, we could even push it a bit higher. The area where I'm excited to see quite a bit of resistance right now would be between $3.8 trillion to 3.24. Okay, if you were to flip that as a support and continue higher, then you're looking at, let me actually give you guys the right levels. You're looking at $3.45 trillion as your level of resistance at this moment in time. You have quite a lot of resistance here, guys. I kid you not. Look at all these trailing channels. It looks like a mess, but this mess right here is what tells you the current trend. And you can see the price is currently navigating between this area right here. This area in the middle, okay, is your current trend, okay? This is the situation that is currently unfolding. And once you break through this region, okay, there's of course two things that you could do. Either drop down into this region right here, or you start to move up. But this is currently your trading region and your current situation. Moving on, total two. Again, ideally, I want to see $804 billion. We didn't really get it, but support area is between 1.14 and 101, which we did lose. Okay, but losing that does not necessarily mean that it's the end, because we have a bullish golden pocket right here, which we did slice through. Sure, we are still above this low, however. Okay, and even if we wanted to remove this, okay, which I will not, okay, because it gives me guidance on upper levels right here. We have this Fibonacci, where you guys can see we're actually sitting at a 78.6% of this particular fib. And more importantly, from the bear market low, which let me make sure that this is actually precise as it can be. Make it thicker. Yeah, perfect. You can see that we are actually above the 6.1%. So I think that there is quite a lot of support overall on the Total 2 chart at this moment. If we were to go a little bit lower, welcome that. Okay, it's not that deep. Okay, it's very good for the market for us to hit these particular levels, and even better, to be honest, if we were to go and retest this trend right here as a support. As you guys can see, we have sliced through it, okay, but we did not retest support. So if we were to go a little bit lower, okay, welcome that. Absolutely accept it for what it is and how beneficial it will be for the entire market. You also have a bullish trending channel down here, so you guys have a lot of support coming your way. Okay, um, it's more support than anything. So that's why I'm so optimistic, because yes, we're going down, yes, but we're already so close, okay, to significant levels that can actually change the overall situation in the current market. Moving on, we got the total three. So total three, we did lose quite a bit, and I still want to see $582 billion. To be honest, that did not come through. But like for this the other charts right here, we perhaps do not need to see it at this moment in time, because if you were in plot of Fibonacci based on this lower year of August 2024 to the all-time high, you actually struck a bullish golden pocket. So, this is pointing to at least 1.65 to 1.56 trillion dollars. So that will be a new all-time high, and that will be enough for an old season. Okay, here I was covering the scenario after the crash of October 10th. I was explaining this to Premium. I also explained it in a live stream that I made on the Discord for Involio. And I was pretty much calling for another leg to the downside way before all of this happened. I think that we were somewhere around November or December. I said that we were going to go lower, and so we did. So now we can remove that. So I see a lot of support, guys. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but if I see one thing which is beneficial, I gotta let you know. For example, look at the orders chart. We have liquidated the October 10th low. I said that I think that support was gonna come through between 156.59 and 132 billion. That's pretty much what happened on the dot. So I have to be optimistic right here because literally all that I wanted to see has happened. Now, what ideally should have also happened, right, which is not necessarily required, but it would be even more bullish to me, is if we went lower and we stopped this trend right here from COVID, okay, an important trend line, which currently points at $138 billion. I pretty much showcase this exact trend lines, guys, on the order layout, right? On this layout right here, where I said tapping this middle trend line right here will be super beneficial for the market. And that same trend line is what I'm presenting to you guys right here, okay? So, ideally we went a little bit lower, but we don't really have to worry about that right now. I think that we should be seeing a shorter move to the upside. As you guys can see, Bitcoin is currently up 8.70% on the day, and that makes sense. A lot of people were shorting. So the market is going to make the shorters pay their price if they're not going to be taking their profits. Okay, so your next level of resistance is going to be at $221 billion. So this would be a point to watch. From there onwards, we may even potentially have another leg to the downside. It just depends on what the market chooses to do at this moment. I'm gonna be giving you guys levels as we proceed. So that's your current situation. Moving on to Bitcoin. So my longest currently at a profit. I actually give you guys this trade for free on my Involio. Here, currently up 13% on a 7x leverage. That's almost a 2% move from my entry. I pretty much entered where my previous Bitcoin swing trade got stopped out. It was part of the plan for me to do that, so I'm just following my plan at this moment. Here, your level of support, which I mentioned yesterday, was 64.2 to 61.6. Pretty much at the rejection from there. And yeah, your first level of resistance is going to be between 74.4 to 73.7. If we manage to get above this particular level right here, then you're looking at 80,000.5 at this moment. And if we were to squeeze above that level, you're looking at 85.4. So at least $74,000 in my opinion. If we manage to squeeze a little bit higher, then it's gonna be 80K. Squeeze above that, 85. If you were to squeeze even higher and go up to 94.3, that's where resistance may potentially come in, and then we could have a rollover. But we will have to worry about that at a later date. We don't have to worry about that right now. Moving on, Bitcoin dominance. So, still dropping on the weekly. I was expecting to see this sort of a slowdown because my checkpoint area is already pretty close. This is now moving a little bit lower from next week. We're looking at 60.4. So it just makes sense that it's going sideways, but we have to hit the strengths, in my personal opinion, before seeing the reversal to the downside. And all coins taking the wheel for a little bit at this moment in time. Ethereum, I'm also in a long from here, but it's a 2x level, so I just entered on the breaker. Not the perfect entry whatsoever, but it's just part of the plan. It's pretty much where you would enter using the breaker strategy, so any sort of drawdown is welcomed. Well, not welcome, but is accepted, I should say. Gave this long on Involio as well. This has a little bit more upside in my opinion, and we will be looking at actually extend this trend right here. I will be looking at for potential resistance from next week around $3,000. Okay, 3013. This will be your level. Move above, and you have quite a lot of resistance, which, to truly get above it, you need to make a significant green candle about $3,100. Okay, so you need to see a major move to the upside for us to actually expect Ethereum to go for a new all-time high and actually go to the full target I'm expecting to see personally at this moment in time, which is minimum 6.8, $7,000, maybe even higher than that. But yeah, this is currently the situation at this moment in time. What I must say about Ethereum is that we have this run right here from June 2022 to April 2025, which has not yet been hit. And I think there is another one from COVID down here. Not this one, but this one right here. Pretty much in the same exact region. So you do have a bullish trending channel that has yet to be hit. So, this is the extra bit of downside that can potentially be coming through into the market. Okay, you gotta accept that. That is a possibility, but it's within the region where I'm calling bottoms here. Okay, so give or take within this region is where I would expect us to bottom out. This is where I will probably be opening another bullish long position on Ethereum. Moving on, we got the total 3 minus Solana minus BNB, XRP, USDT, and USDC. And this is your main chart for altcoins, okay? And premium knows, but you should also know, because I made a video, I think it was for free right here, hidden crypto charts #1, deciphering total 3 spat to old season 2025 and 2026. This is a video from 8 months ago, guys, and I was showing you guys exactly how I created from scratch this particular chart. Okay, and you can go and watch a video and you can see that I was calling back then for this correction to the downside to happen. Granted, I was actually expecting this to go either a little bit higher or a little bit lower up to here. I don't remember. I know that this has changed a little bit, but in terms of the downside, it's pretty much on the dot. So here what we have done is we pretty much liquidated the October 10 low. We've also hit the lower spectrum of this bullish trending channel. So this is overall very good. If we are able to reclaim above this particular trend line, which as of right now will be going up to above $229 billion, I think that this will turn quite bullish for the altcoins. But then your next level of resistance from next week will be 282 billion. If we manage to do something like this, where we move up and then have a short correction and then we start to break up, I think that we can potentially see a move to the upside, close to the levels of September 2025-ish. Okay, somewhere around those regions, September, August, pretty much into this area right here. From there onwards, I would expect to see another correction. Okay, how deep this correction is going to be, I don't know. It could also be a little bit steeper. Something like this would also make sense. But you're gonna be making, if I'm correct, you're gonna be making higher lows, which is what matters, because that's what, in my opinion, will be the launch pad for the old season. And I believe, and I'm calling for this high right here to be taken out. I'm expecting us to see a new all-time high for all coins next. Okay, important trend right here. So this region could potentially be resistance. Okay, we will have to wait and see how it unfolds. This could also go even a little bit higher. But as we step into this region, we gotta be careful. I don't know if we're gonna be breaking above in one go. Could happen, it may not. So who knows? Let me know what you guys are thinking, your thoughts, and what you guys are doing at this moment in time.